use this natural language time picker. So I can say things like yesterday noon, and it will go to yesterday at noon and it'll ask for the video from the camera, and now it started playing. Or I could say, let's say last Friday 3 p.m. And so it's now showing me last Friday at 3 p.m. This interface is incredibly fast for retrieving video that you want, even though the video is not on the computer that you're currently running and it's not on a server. It's been retrieved from the camera. This is really quite incredible. And when we've looked at it compared to some other NVR systems, the traditional network video recorder with video management software, it is as fast and often in some cases faster. And the reason for that is that when you scale, you get more resources. So say in a typical system you have 10 cameras on your server and you add another 10 cameras. Suddenly that server has to do twice as much work and starts to slow down. Well, with the Meraki cameras, you have a camera, it has all the resources it needs, and when you add another camera, it has all the resources it needs. And so it keeps scaling and scaling and scaling as much as you need it to. And so the system never slows down when you scale the size up. So we're looking at sort of video from back then. I can click now and it will go off to the camera. We'll start a live stream rather than trying to take video from the storage on the camera, and we'll get to see live video from the camera as well. And if we wanted to export a particular sort of section of video, I can press export, and I can go down here and I can drag these handles, and I can go along and I can say, okay, I want to export this period of time here. So the video is stored on the camera, and we don't offload that video from the camera. What happens is the camera keeps recording for the determined period of time. So that's either 14 days or 20 days, depending on the quality setting that you've selected. And when it gets completely full, it starts overwriting the oldest footage and putting in the newer footage. So say an event happens, say my bicycle is stolen in this particular scenario, then I want the footage from that. As long as I go back within the sort of 20 days of my total recordings, I can export that footage from the camera, and that footage is exported for me to keep forever. Now, I get a file download link, so if I click submit now, I'm going to get an error. I'm going to get an error because I don't have access because I'm a demo user. So you'll get the same error when you click submit. But what will happen if you're a real customer is you'll get an export link, and then there will be a little download, and you can then save that link and download the file, or you can share it with someone else. One of the great things about being able to share it with someone else is that you can go in and I haven't got any recent exports on this particular camera. I'll see if I can find a camera with some recent exports where that has been set up for you. But for example, we spent a long time talking to law enforcement about how they retrieve video evidence. One of the problems that they had was that it is very time consuming. They all go to site and they'll try and get the video, and there are all these different systems, and they may not have the expertise to be able to get the video off, or maybe the user of that system doesn't have the expertise. So then they call a special video retrieval trained officer, possibly to work on getting that video out. And so it makes it very resource intensive to get video for, say, a relatively low level crime like my bicycle being stolen, for example. So if you make it much easier for people to get access to video, then is much more helpful, much less resource intensive to law enforcement agencies to be able to investigate crimes that may have happened. So this gives you a link which you can share with other people, and they can then download that file if need be. There are a few other controls I have in here, such as I can full screen this, or I can change the time period, but pretty much the most exciting one, full stop, is the motion search. So if I click motion search, what this allows me to do is to select any part of the scene. So I'm going to go select, say, this part of the scene over here, and I can see what happened in that area at any time in the past. So what happens is, because the camera is recording everything and we analyze all of the video at the edge, we can go and find out what happened at any point in time for any part of the scene. So I can go down here and I have the results for what happened at this particular time. Now, I'm going to sort this interface as, so we have the time it happened, how long it was, and then we have this thing called ROA, which is region of interest. And so I want to know stuff that happened with a high level of sort of alerts there, my region of interest, and we see this sort of gentleman's head has been going through this area. I'm going to explore this for the entire day. So I'm going to go down here and we're going to see this for the entire 24-hour period. And maybe I want to look instead at these bicycles over here. So I can now go select that area over here, and we could go down and say, maybe what if I click on something like one of these events down here, and we can see we have someone coming in and putting their bicycle on a kickstand there. So if, say, a laptop goes missing, maybe someone leaves their phone on a work surface and it's not there when they come back, you can go back in time by selecting where that device was or where the device is now and find out what happened. In fact, a good example of it is one of my colleagues left a camera I had given them on a work surface in the office, and they came back the next day and found it was gone. And so they went to the camera that was watching that work surface to find out what happened to their camera. Sort of a bit of a camera inception thing going on here. And they motion searched and they found that I had picked up their camera and gone and put it in a store cupboard. So rather than watching hours and hours of video, which is highly time consuming, they can do things with a fraction of the amount of effort. So really, really valuable in terms of what they can do. And we can sort of step back in time a few frames here. We can play it again, pause it, and really work out what's going on. And the cameras that we have are two, the MV71, the outdoor camera, and the MV21, the indoor camera. And these are very focal cameras. Both of them are the same in terms of how that works. And so if I go here, we have a zoomed in camera. So we've used the maximum amount of that very focal capacity to get close up of the entrance door for this particular part of the bike room. So when someone's walking through, we want to capture their identity. So there are these concepts in the sort of surveillance world of context and identity. So you want to capture the identity of someone when they come through sort of a choke point like a door or an entrance or a corridor, and then you want a wider angle shot which gives you the context of what they do. Did they take that thing off that bicycle? Did they put that thing in that cupboard? And so on. But then you also need to know who they are. So I can click motion search here, and I'm interested in everything that happened in this area. So rather than selecting an area, I'm just going to click away and it's going to show me everything for the scene. And so now I can go and see, let's go back an hour or so. So I've clicked left here. That's taking me back in time by an hour on the interface. And now I see I have some results. So I can click on this result here. And we can see that we have this blue outline showing the shape of a person, and we have one of the office staff working on the office here. So he's either walked across this way or is just about to walk back this way, and this is showing the motion that happened because of that. So putting up a sign here about the office. Let's pick another event. Let's pick, oh, there we go. He's just walked back across. So if we pick another event here, oh, there he is walking up there in the first place. So we go back another hour. And so rather than having to watch that whole hour to see what happened, we can quickly click on an event and see what happened. So we've got someone going out the door there. And you can see it's detected all of the door motion. Maybe we'll click this event here. And we have someone taking their bicycle out of the bike room. Is that their bike? Maybe. We don't know. But we have the video should we need it. And so you see, rather than having to go and do the really boring thing of watching lots and lots of video, I can just so quickly go in and just click the events and find out what happened. It really is such a time saver. I'm not watching hours and hours of footage. Really very powerful indeed. Okay, so what are some of the other settings if you're doing a demo? So this is a guide for you as someone who works at Cisco to work out how to demo the cameras. Well, if we go here and I click network, this gives us network information. So the standard things such as IP address and so on. You can see I've got these links to the Meraki switches, so I can go in and sort of click on the Meraki switches. And also this connectivity information. And so you can see whether or not there's been any downtime, whether the switch has been disconnected, maybe the camera has been powered off. And this is really powerful. Often people don't know if their camera is working or not, or if it had any problems. This type of feedback, this health bar, lets them know very quickly and easily. And you can configure an email alert so that when the camera goes offline, you know when that's happened and you can go check on it. You can then also look to see historically what has happened. You can also put stuff in like the location of where it is. So we've got it on a map, and I'm going to hope I've added a mounting photo. I haven't in this particular scenario, but you can mount the camera and then take a photo using the mobile app. So in another one of my videos, I'm going to show you how the mobile app works. Now, this final tab, this one called Settings, is how you set up the camera. So this is where you can zoom and focus, and we have this lower latency stream for focusing. What does that mean? So we have a lower quality video which responds more quickly to changes on the camera, so you can easily set up the focus of the camera. If I go down here, you see we've got this zoom. I can zoom in, I can zoom out. See, we're zoomed into the maximum here to make the image as large as possible. I could zoom out over here. Now, because I'm not an admin user, I can't physically make changes. So if I click these buttons, nothing is going to happen. If I want to focus, I can run autofocus, so I can focus on a specific area. Again, sort of going and clicking and dragging like I would do with a motion search, for example. And down the bottom here, we can change things such as the rotation or the aperture on the camera as well. Now, in terms of how long the cameras store video, this is where that is currently configured. You can choose to sacrifice a little bit of quality to store things longer. So that's the standard quality here. That's 530 kbps at 8 frames a second, and you get 20 days on the 128 gigs on the camera. Or you can choose enhanced quality, so you get some more data and a faster frame rate, which is better suited if you've got a lot of fast-moving objects. So when you don't have a large amount of frames per second, or you have a low bit rate, it's not going to be so suitable to capture cars moving, for example. So in this case, if you've got it watching a street, then you may want to choose this particular setting. The final setting you get to choose is night mode. So these are the defaults. It will automatically turn on when the camera thinks it's dark enough, and it will then turn on its infrared illuminators, which are effective up to 30 meters or around 90 feet. If for some reason your camera needs adjusting from the defaults, an example may be you have like an external light, like a security light near the camera, which could make it think that it's daytime when it's not, then you can adjust the settings here with these sliders. But typically these don't need to be adjusted at all. And if you want to go look at camera in night mode, it's pretty easy to do that. So we've been looking at the bike room, but if I click back to cameras up here and I clear out my search, and I'm going to go to one of the IDFs. So these are our wiring closets in the Meraki office. We can see some of the video in night vision mode. And in fact, this is probably a good segue into what is called the video wall. So if I go to cameras, and rather than choosing monitoring cameras, I want to monitor the video wall, we can go look at that instead. So we've only been looking at one camera at the moment. You can look at multiple cameras at the same time, and this is under the video wall function. So here we're looking at a number of our IDFs, and these are all completely dark rooms. There is no light in them at all other than the infrared from the cameras. And you can see that we're looking at the back of some racks here. We can see it's looking at the front of some racks. We can see it's covering the door entrance. So because these are highly sensitive areas, we want to know who comes in, so we get their identity, for example, and we want to know what they change. So do they unplug a cable from here? Do they not? So for example, I could click plus here, and it's going to magnify this particular one, and I could go in and have a look at that particular switch. Did they unplug that stacking cable maybe? And then I can zoom back out and it takes me to the rest of my cameras. You can even see we have some Meraki MC phones being tested down the bottom here. So this is what it looks like when you're looking at the cameras in night vision mode. And these video walls, we have a number of them. So if I go to my bike room, for example, you see we've got a bike room specific video wall. And these cameras can be anywhere. They don't have to be on the same site. They don't have to be in the same country even. You can set them up, and because of the automatic self-discovering nature of the Meraki Mv architecture, these are all cloud streamed directly to me, and I can go in and look at all of these video cameras. Now, what's really cool is the timeline and everything works. Oh, we've got someone coming in here. Works the same way. So when people come in,